Hello there. What the good Chancellor giveth away with the one hand, he greedily grabs back with both hands. Firstly, as ever, please give my YouTube channel a boost by giving this video a big fat like. And I'm always uploading new content, so please check back daily. Today I'll be talking about the self-employed bailout, but I've also got a bit of news about the police at the end as well. But quickly, if you don't already know, our Prime Minister Boris Johnson has tested positive. So let's see how nice our Marxist-minded friends really are with this one, while the rest of the right-minded amongst us wish him a speedy recovery, not just as our Prime Minister, but mostly as a fellow human being. And you couldn't make it up, but Matt Hancock, the Health Secretary, has also fallen ill, so please wish him well too. Doubtless more will follow. Now, as I understand it, the Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab is the first Secretary of State and the PM's designated survivor, so would be the one to stand in for the Prime Minister if required. So let's hope he gets a test soon. But more importantly, has the other Dominic, Cummings, been tested yet? Oh, and I hear councils have been instructed to get all the homeless off the streets and into hotels and shelters by the weekend. Now, last night, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak, unveiled a multi-billion-pound safety net for the self-employed to help them through this ongoing economic problem. This bailout mirrors the one already given to furloughed employees by handing out cash grants of 80% of income up to a maximum of £2,500 a month. But due to the complexity of self-employed income and the potential for mass fraud, it will take time to develop a working system to give out that money, so it will not be rolled out until June. And that's the bit that has alarmed so many self-employed people across the country. Because even if they got a lump sum in June, backdated to cover the whole period, what do they spend in the meantime? What are they meant to eat? Cake? It all smacks of the state purposefully driving the ambulance half an hour behind the bus that's bearing down on you, instead of just diverting the bus. Many amongst the self-employed do not have a pot of savings large enough to cover that period, if any savings at all. The Mail reports, the Chancellor unveiled a scheme handing out cash grants worth up to £2,500 a month in a boost for taxi drivers, musicians, gig economy workers and freelancers. Many welcome the move, but some have reacted negatively, with roofers, directors, driving instructors and fitness coaches saying it will not help them. And I'm told that these grants are taxable. Anyway, many of those affected by this will now be relying on the goodwill of their creditors by loading up their overdrafts and credit cards. But that means racking up debt and future repayments as well as the inevitable interest. And it's not like their money issues started today. For many of them, it started weeks ago. They are already on the bones of their assets. There are also those that run their businesses as small limited companies, who may well fall through the cracks in the scheme for one reason or another. As it seems that company directors, even sole directors, do not qualify as they are not classed as self-employed. And those that have just set up a new business of any sort in the past few months, they will probably not qualify at all either. Now, one thing that you might have missed is that this massive effort will be in place initially for 3 months, but I'm not sure it was made clear what the start date for that would be. So I'm assuming it will be for the same time period as the furloughed employee scheme. But there's another massive sting in the tail for the self-employed. whether or not they seek or qualify for that help. Because the Chancellor made it abundantly clear during his brief last night that when this is all over, he will be looking to treat the self-employed exactly the same as the employed for tax purposes. What he said was, "But I must be honest and point out that in devising this scheme in response to many calls for support, it is now much harder to justify the inconsistent contributions between people of different employment statuses. If we all want to benefit equally from state support, we must all pay in equally in future." Now this raises a few alarm bells for me. At first glance this does sort of look equitable, mainly due to the stories you hear about those engaged in cash-in-hand work or using accountants to keep their tax bills at zero. While at the same time, many of the people claiming this use those same cash-in-hand cleaners, window cleaners and odd jobbers to keep their own costs down. But as far as I can see, the rules are that after allowances and expenses, the self-employed do pay the same tax rates as the employed. And the few self-employed people I know are responsible people who would never take the risk of having the taxman breathing down their necks. It's just not worth it. They submit their invoices and expenses to their accountants and cough up the amount that the calculator spits out. And the accountants they use may occasionally squeeze the tax rules envelope a bit now and again, but they would never ever risk their professional licence on breaking the rules. Why would they? And in this self-employment bailout, it will be those who have been most honest about their income that will surely have the most to benefit. And that may be a lesson in its own right for the few that don't. And for those who work and dodge under the tax radar, they'll get diddly squat. But let's also not forget that both employers and employees have been bailed out by the state at huge cost with money that would never in normal times be doled out to them. They're not being given something that they would normally qualify for just because they pay tax, are they? The Chancellor has had to break completely new ground for this. And in the last few days, he said that the major block to giving the self-employed the same sort of backing as the employed was the complex nature of self-employment itself, the fluctuating business and income patterns, good months followed by bad. When holidays are taken, both earnings and income drop, etc. My question is, if employers and employees get a bailout that is outside the normal benefit rules without paying more tax in future, then why should the self-employed be thrown under the tax bus? Or is this a signal that tax rises are on the way for all of us? Sunak never said anything about future tax implications until last night, so to me this does sound a bit opportunistic. But maybe he has to say these sorts of things to keep the bond market settled, as he tries to offload more gilts. Who knows? But if putting this self-employment bailout procedure in place was so hard, how much harder will it be down the line to replicate the employment PAYE tax structure for the self-employed? But if the rules are changed, this does have the potential to scotch entrepreneurship in the UK. And who's to say that this will not end up applying to limited companies, corporation tax, dividends and the like as well? The tax changes coming could be substantial, with many of the benefits of taking risks in starting and running your own business removed. Where would the incentive be? Now, as an interesting aside, I've been informed that due to the current situation, the crime rate has fallen through the floor. In fact, from what I've been told, there's almost nought for the police to do. Well, not until the future surge in criminal activity starts to recoup lost earnings. Once people can fill the streets, so again becoming muggable, or they go back to work and leave their homes unoccupied for many hours again. Yes, fewer people on the streets and sat safely at home gives criminals fewer opportunities for burglaries and muggings, it seems, as well as the added risk of having a copper stop and ask you some searching questions if you're out and about and up to no good, especially if you're going visibly equipped for naughtiness or returning from achieving your skullduggery furnished with the fruits of your labours. So our officers are being told to get out on the streets and make themselves seen, by the few of us actually out there. And it also gives them plenty of scope to break up those groups of greater than 2 people, as well as get those drones in the air to hunt down those arch wrongdoers that leave their houses more than once a day. Now, many police officers are not uniformed, like the plainclothes detectives, and they have not been in uniform for many years, and can't squeeze themselves into their mothball-ridden rags anymore. Well, not without the use of a tire iron anyway, with the result that there now seems to be a shortage of uniforms as they all queue, some reluctantly, for new ones. Now there's an opportunity for some enterprising person in the rag trade there, isn't there? So why the call today for recently retired police officers to report in for duty, if there's nothing for them to do but patrol empty streets? Well, I gather that there are a lot of them self-isolating at the moment, and they do also have to maintain that huge online presence for the hunting down of the Twitter and Facebook posting ne'er-do-wells, don't they? The devil is finding work for idle police officers. Anyway, if you want to hear more from me, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell, or you won't get any notifications. And if you want to see more of me, buy a mug with my mug on it. So what do you think about all of this? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.